What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the first version of our nutrition counseling lecture series. Today we're going to cover a few things. But before we do that, small disclaimer, I am not a nutritionist, okay? So that keeps me in the realm of a few things. One, I'm not able to write you meal plan. I can't tell you, okay, what you need to do is eat 4 cups of chicken and 2 cups of broccoli and things like that. But what I can do is help you help yourself. How many calories should we eat? How many calories should we be in a deficit of? How many carbohydrates should we cut? Should we not eat carbs? When should we eat carbs? Is the ketogenic diet real? Does it work? Of course it does. I'm not going to delve into those things specifically. I'm going to keep it very, very broad. What I'm going to do today is we're going to go over how to calculate your calories based on something called basal metabolic rate. Now, your basal metabolic rate is just simply, going to be the amount of energy you expend at rest. Basically, it's going to be how much energy you need from the calories you put in to simply exist. Whatever height you are, convert feet to inches, right? And then from inches multiplied by 2.54. With me being 74 inches, if we multiply 74 times 2.54, that puts me at 187.96 inches. Okay. So again, to backtrack, remember, not a nutritionist. I do something called Eat to Perform. This is basically what's going to help you excel at eating to supplement your athletics and or preparation of gaining weight or losing weight. So again, my actual weight, 240 pounds for this example. Let's pretend I want to drop down to 230 pounds. That means it's a weight loss of 10 pounds, right? So what I would recommend first and foremost is let's begin, really, you're gonna have to start either today or start Monday, wherever you can get a weekly gathering and recording of all your food, and just write down your meals. From that, and this is the most tedious part, from that we can calculate an average. Kind of allows for you to gauge your daily caloric intake, so we have a base number to start with. Generally, people are kind of wowed when they start to actually document what they actually eat. Me as well, because I like to eat. My wife and I, we do a lot of eating. So that's step one. If you don't want to start that or you want to move forward a little bit to figure out kind of what the next steps are, it's fine. And in another video, I'm going to show you how to use the MyFitnessPal. It's a free app that you can do. It's very, 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 very convenient because once we establish all the numbers we're going over today, you can then input your goals, and we're going to cover this in a little bit, how much protein, carbs, and fat that we're supposed to hit. It'll measure your calories in real time, meaning it has a camera on it. So what the camera allows for is for you to take pictures of the barcode on the food that you're preparing. Now, we know that as we cook food, things change nutrient profile wise, but it gives you a real funneling, imagine a funneling technique of the ability to gauge where you're at. So this is where a nutritionist takes over and starts to tell you, once we figure all these things out, starts to tell you exactly how much stuff should be on your plate, and that's where I fall off, and I'm going to give you exactly the numbers you should hit, and then you take over from there. So the goal in this essence to lose weight, we're going to subtract 250 to 500 calories a day from that number we established from our weekly eating habits. Because remember, there's 3,500 calories in 1 pound of fat. So we really want to attack that to the best of our ability on a 7-day scale. Let's get to establishing our basal metabolic rate using that Mifflin St Jeor equation. Again, remember the basal metabolic rate calculates how much energy expenditure you have at rest. Now, at the end of this equation, there's an activity multiplier that I'll give you and explain to you so that you can see exactly how many calories you need from the food you eat. And this is going to blow your mind at the end, I promise. How many calories you need just to sit around all day. And we'll also multiply that basal metabolic rate, that number we're going to get from this equation, times our activity multiplier, which we'll establish here in just a minute, to see how many calories you should be eating per day. Now, I always like to throw this at people, and it's different because I'm from the South, but a lot of people in the South, we love Chick-fil-A, right? So also, before I go into that, every fast food chain and all of the stuff, McDonald's, Burger King, Taco Bell, they all have their nutrient facts online. So if you go get, a cheesy gordita crunch from Taco Bell, Literally type that into Google and finish cheese gordita crunch with nutrient facts, and it'll pull up everything for you. In this video series, what I want to focus on though is just the macronutrients. So let's establish what those are. Your macronutrients are your proteins, your fats, and your carbohydrates. And I'm going to give you overall numbers and ranges, you know, from the lower ceiling to the high ceiling, the lowest value to the highest value of what you can and can't take. So let me digress back to the Chick-fil-A comment. So really a way to gauge it is it's incredible because I always relate it back to one Chick-fil-A sandwich, just a number one. Is it odd that I know that? I don't know. One number one has 400 calories in it. So that sweet spot of that 250 to 500 calories per day would literally be if you were to eat it every day, not eating one of those sandwiches. Again, everything's posted online. You will have to take a couple steps yourself. That's okay. If this is something you want to take control of, it becomes habit after a while. So now we've established all that. Let's establish what our basal metabolic rate will be. So the Mifflin St. Jeor equation has a men's equation and a women's equation. Okay, so the men's I'll start with. Here's the equation, and this is what you'll do for all of your numbers. You'll do 10 times your weight in kilograms. Remember your weight in pounds divided by 2.2 plus 6.25 times your height in centimeters, which is feet to inches, times 2.54 minus 5 times your age in years plus 5. I'm gonna repeat that for you. It's for your men, it's 10 times your weight in kilograms plus 6.25 times your height in centimeters minus 5 times your age in years plus 5. Now, I'll post this in the description below, so you don't have to try to memorize it or go back and hit rewind. That way you can have it there for you. Now, this again only establishes basal metabolic rate. That shows you how many calories you need at rest. Okay? Now, here's a tip. When you go to put in your weight in kilograms, don't put in the weight that you weigh today. If the goal is weight loss or weight gain, put in your ideal weight. So for me, remember, I weigh 240, okay? So I wouldn't put 109 in there. I would put 230 in pounds, which is going to be, again, let's see, 230 divided by 2.2 is 104.5. You can get as specific as you want. I'll round up, or round down, depending on the goal. But let's just, for this example, call it 104, okay? So I'm going to put in 104 kilograms. That's how much I weigh in kilos in my ideal weight. So with that being said, let's get to the women. The women's is very, very similar. It's just the last number is changed. So again, for women, it's 10 times your weight in kilograms plus 6.25 times your height in centimeters minus 5 times your age in years. Now that's the exact same as the men's. Now here's the difference. Subtract 161 from that, okay? So again, I'll repeat that, and it will be posted in the description, so you don't have to go all crazy trying to, rewind back and forth and losing the point. It's 10 times your weight in kilograms, plus 6.25 times your height in centimeters, minus 5 times your age in years, minus 161. Now, when putting all that in, remember, that calculates what? Your basal metabolic rate. That's gonna give you a big number. Now, with that big number, you have to then multiply the number we just derived from that equation times your activity multiplier. Now, there's about 5. You can, if you go on the calculators online, it'll do all this for you. I tend to do it myself just because I want to make sure that everything is correct and I'm exercising my brain muscles. So let's look at our activity multiplier. So the activity multiplier itself starts at 1.2. 1.2 is classified as sedentary. That's little to no exercise, okay? Some of us do this. If you work at a desk all day and can't get to the gym, that's fine. That's the number you're gonna choose. Or now that everybody's home, stuck at home in quarantine, a lot of you have become sedentary. We're not able, for the athletes, we're not able to go in and do, or go play your 3 sports, go playing your futsal, go playing your baseball, go doing all your stuff, even if you're doing all at the same time. It dials it back a little bit. So you have to adjust. It's not because you usually do, your sport and do all this. Let's take it week by week. So it may have to change when schools get back in, or if school's done for the semester, God willing it's not. Sorry, moms and dads, if it is. That means the sports are done. We want to get that back. So I digress. So 1.2 is sedentary, little to no exercise. You'll take your basal metabolic rate from the equation we just did, multiply by 1.2. 1.375 is lightly active, okay? So that's classified as light exercise or sports 1 to 3 times a week, okay? A lot of us fall into that. If you're playing a lot of rec sports, or if you're a weekend warrior, or you still just think you're an athlete, or just doing your best to work out, that's kind of the number for you. A lot of the athletic population is going to fall into this realm. So 1.55 is the activity multiplier that's classified as moderately active. Now, some people will think, they're like, oh, but I'm really active. I'm playing sports 3 to 5 days a week. I'm lifting weights 3 days a week. That's kind of where you're falling into this. So that's classified as moderate exercise, which is going to be resistance training, weightlifting, cardio, things like that, and sports 3 to 5 times a week. Now, that's where a lot of us are going to fall into, and that's okay. That gives us exactly what it is. It's better to be careful, fall on the cautious side, than to overestimate and then end up hitting wrong numbers where we're like starving ourselves. So 1.725, now not a lot of us fall into this. That's classified as very active. I don't even fall into this. I fall into probably somewhere between 1.375 and 1.55. I would probably put myself at like a 1.4, and I work out 5 to 6 days a week. And I have a physically demanding job because I'm carrying all you guys' weights all around all the time because somebody doesn't clean up after themselves. Am I right? You know who you are. Just kidding. So again, 1.725 is very active. That's hard exercise and sports 6 to 7 days a week. Again, a lot of us don't fall into that, but some of us do. You know, there are some of the athletes that I work with that are doing, 2 to 3 sports at the time and come to see me 2 to 3 times a week. And, just constantly on the road, busy playing tournaments, doing all this stuff. So anyways, the last one is 1.9. That's extra active. That means we're talking marathon runners and you also work for the city, something like that. So it's classified as very hard exercise, sports and a physical job, or 2 a days, training twice a day. So probably most of us will fall back from the last 2 I just mentioned, but if that is you, that's your number. So don't stick to these numbers. It doesn't have to be 1.2. It doesn't have to be 1.375. If you're kind of busier, like you work out once a week, and that makes you non-sedentary, but it doesn't make you working out 1 to 3 times a week with light exercise. So it could be 1.27 or whatever you want it to be. Just know these are ranges. So let's go back. I put myself in as at a 1.5 to a 1.55. So at 240 pounds. Now here's where it's going to blow your mind, because all of us can get on a treadmill and look and be like, oh man, I'm dying. I've been on this thing 20 minutes. I've gone 2.5 miles. I feel great. And you've burnt like 400 calories. You know what I mean? Like, it's easy to put calories in. It is easy. It's my favorite thing to do. I love eating. I love to do all these things. It's really hard to burn them, especially as you get older. Take note, kids. I promise you it gets harder. Now, remember, I told you to put in, when you calculate that Mifflin St. Jeor equation, I told you to put in your ideal weight. Now, I did both, my current weight and the ideal weight. In this example, I'm trying to lose 10 pounds. So I just want you to see the example of both. So I did a range of 1.5, 1.6, and 1.7. Calculating that basal metabolic rate, calculating that big equation I talked about that'll be posted, and then using that 1.5, 1.6, and 1.7 as my activity multipliers, just for example. And I did it also for my ideal weight at 230. So 240 pounds. Again, all this is already converted. I put 240 so we can remember where we're at. At 1.5, my basal metabolic rate with my activity multiplier of that 1.5, I need to eat to stay 240, 3,165.99, so 3,166 calories a day. Now, a lot of people think that's crazy. That's so many calories. It's so much. Not really. Food adds up. Me personally, I eat 5 or 6 times a day. They're smaller meals, but these things add up. And we'll cover the how many calories per gram of our macronutrients, remember protein, carbs, and fat, that each of these nets you. This is going to be a little mind-boggling. At 1.6 activity multiplier times my basal metabolic rate, you're at 3,377 calories. So I'm almost, at 3,400 calories. That means I got to eat, but I got to work too, So not work as in go to work. I mean, I've got to put in the work to be able to maintain this without gaining weight. Right? At 1.7, now we're crossing the realm of moderately active to very active that not a lot of us are. That puts me up at almost 3,600 calories, 3,588.12 calories. Now that's a lot. That's a lot of food. Now people talk about their gains and their bulks and their cuts and all these things about their phases. Now, when I am trying to put on weight, now this is calculated on purpose. I do harbor around 4,000 to 5,000 calories, but my activity mirrors that. So at 240, that's where I would be at. Now, if I'm cutting, so let me backtrack too. So when you're putting extra calories in, this is called caloric intake. You have an excessive caloric intake. That means that I'm eating more than I'm burning. That means I'm gaining weight. It's that simple. And I'll take a second to use one of my favorite sayings or quotes or however you want to say it, idioms. Losing and gaining weight is a very, very simple thing to do. One simple equation, and that is either put in more calories than you burn or burn more calories than you put in. It's that simple. You're putting in more calories than you're burning, you're gaining weight. And that's how it goes. That's how your body reacts physiologically. Now, if you're burning more calories than you're putting in, if you're burning more fuel than you have, then you're losing weight, right? So that's literally the name of this game. So the name of the game is calories, and that's it. So just for comparison, that was at 240 pounds, what I was just talking about. At 230 pounds, what that does is put me at 2,994 calories at a 1.5 multiplier, 3,201 calories at a 1.6, and 3,400 at a 1.7. So we're arguing, about 170 calorie difference. So that falls a little shy of the 250 to 500. But that again is based on activity multipliers. Now in between the 1.7 on real active, we're around, almost 200. So a good rule of thumb, and this is the thing about nutrition that bothers me. That's why I didn't go into nutrition, just to help, supplement athletic performance. It's very individual reaction. If you're 15 or 16 years old or however young, adolescent or teenager, you are going to burn calories like this. That's how it goes. Your metabolism's through the roof. Eat whatever you want, all kinds of ice cream and pizza and all the yumminess of life, and go to Jersey Freeze 5 times a week. And you're still going to lose weight most of the time, especially if you're staying active. Now, when you get into your mid-20s or at some point it changes. Moms and dads, you know what I'm talking about. And college kids, you'll get it too soon, I promise. Please don't. I don't mean that as a curse by any means. But as you get older, your metabolism slows. And for instance, I think about pizza all the time and I put on weight. Clearly just kidding. But my point is that you have to approach your foods differently because your metabolism slows. You're not burning calories just sitting around because you're not growing anymore like that, So younger kids, enjoy it while you can because it will change. Okay. So far what we've covered, to surmise, what we've covered is step 1 is what I'd like you to do is, since we have the time, we're all in quarantine, take a food diary of what you eat. Literally, don't sit down and write down every single second. I had 16 fries that my mom cooked in the oven and 4 chicken tenders, or hopefully that's not what you're eating anyways. But my point is try to get larger amounts of your food diary. So look at, I had for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I had boom, boom, boom. Write it down, and then later on, just go in and calculate the calories. How do I do that? Literally take the package and flip it, and then look at how many calories is in each serving. And then we'll get to, as you do more and more and more, you'll do more and more calculations. Let's talk about our macros. For step 2, then use your Mifflin St and Jeor equation, plug in all the numbers we talked about, get your basal metabolic rate. That's how much calories you'll expend at rest. Find your activity multiplier. All this will be posted in the description. Find your activity multiplier and get your caloric numbers, okay? So this way we can start to get a grasp and a hold on what we do for all of our foods and kind of where we're at for our calorie numbers. Establish your calories. Find out how many it takes just to be at rest. Find out how many it takes to lose weight. Now, how do you make the difference? Using your ideal weight. That's why I said that's important. Now, looking